retail. Like the things that I get to do every day is so fun, so enjoyable. I love it. I just got off a call with Stephen Lee, and it was just an awesome call. Super great. And I was telling Shanice about it, and she was saying, "You got to record this." So here we're recording,
Yeah.
and I'm going to keep talking to Shanicia about how the call went, and you get to be an audience here too.
And also why you feel like you're living your
Why?
fairy tale.
So the reason why I feel like I'm living my fairy tale is because just with the automation. So like learning how to automate things. I was thinking about the journey of some of the conversation that I had with Stephen Lee. He shared his journey about ministry, giving his heart to Jesus, entrepreneurship, and ministry, and just how everything ties together. I shared my experience, and I was thinking one of the last things we talked about is building a team, and um, by building a team, what I told him, I made a comment. I said that I believe that business is God's personal development program with a compensation plan. And you never earn more than what how you develop yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to overcome the self-sabotage, the self-doubt, the self-worth, just the fears that we have, the insecurities, and all these things that they have to like come about. And it was a really fun conversation. And we started talking about that, but for me, the thought was that I was learning how to develop a team since like 2014
Mm-hmm.
and everything going into leadership and growing in that area. And it's been quite a journey. It's been rewarding. But in the last like 8 months, I've been learning about automation and how there's so many things that I don't have to delegate if I could automate it with a workflow or with AI or with some tool. And I'm just like, this is incredible. Just the things that we get to do is so fun and so rewarding and so
Mm-hmm.
cool. It allows me to do more of the things that I enjoy and I love. Like I could still have like to maybe on the outside it looks like an insane content creation responsibility or system, but to be honest, the systems we have in place make it so simple and amazing
Mm-hmm.
between a team and automation. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. But in our call, you asked how it got started.
Yeah, how did that even come about? How did you
So
guys get on there?
it came about because I just wanted to connect with another brother who understands business and marketing and ministry, and I like the stuff that Stephen Lee shares. So I reached out
What
to
does he
him.
do?
He has done several things over the years. He was the ASI Young Professionals leader, and he gathered together a bunch of young professionals. And I met him in Kentucky at GYC.
Oh,
Well, I heard about him. I found a business card, and I was like, I want to connect with this man. So,
oh, cool.
yeah, and he's done several things over the years, but that's why I was asking him, and he's kind of like in between, figuring out where is God leading him, where does
Mm-hmm.
God have him to be,
Yes.
and I think he tried to partner with different companies or ministries or things at different times, and things didn't work out, and it could be kind of discouraging. And
Mm-hmm.
I told him my story, like, hey, I had 15 failed business attempts before the 16th business became a multiple six-figure famous business, and it's like there's so many times I felt like quitting or giving up or just like what do I do? But I was saying like it only takes one, just one to be radically transforming for your life.
Right.
So he feels like God's calling him to focus on ministry, which is his wife to helps with relationships and a gifted speaker, which he doesn't feel like speaking is his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very organized, strategic, and he knows how to do technical stuff. I'm like, well, that sounds like a really cool partnership. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So I actually led out with telling him about Contact Keeper and the software that we invested in, and how it's like, that I've been working with Contact Keeper because it's just filling. I was kind of tying up a previous conversation we had on Messenger, and um, and he was just like, "Are you looking for beta clients, or what phase are you in?" And I was thinking, "No, we don't need beta clients. Um, it's like we have 36 like sub accounts, so I mean that's not really an issue, and they pay generously. So, no, I was just kind of sharing that. But I think because I mentioned that in the beginning, he felt like I was trying to like pitch him something or had a hidden agenda. So I told him like, would you be open to getting on a call? And I told him like, I want to connect with people who understand the Bible, business, ministry, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, and marketing. And he's like, yeah, I'm especially leery with people in the online business space because
Oh man.
and I was like, yeah, I respect your concern. I totally get it. I've been through there too.
Did he say why?
Well, I think it's implied. I mean, yeah, that was what him saying that is saying why, because people have you get on calls like that, or you think you're gonna like hang out with a buddy or catch up, and then they're pitching you something, or they're sharing Amway, or they're gonna sell you something.
That
So,
makes sense.
which he doesn't mind being sold to. It's just like you just want the intention to be upfront, and that was going on. But he sent me the calendar link to pick a call, and I picked it during my lunch break. And but in talking to him, I was sharing like my goal is like I want to connect with other people who are in the work, and I find value in that. So I figured we could encourage one another and just see what's going on. And he appreciated that. So we started talking, and yeah, there's a lot of things we had in common. Um, but I think he asked me a question. He's like, "Do you ever feel that you?" He's like, "If it's too vulnerable or something, you don't have to say." I'm like, "Hey, I'm an open book. Like, you're welcome to ask anything. Like, I'm down for it. This is what I want to talk about." And he's like, "Do you ever feel like money was just a distraction, or you get so focused on like a business that you just kind of like that you get distracted from ministry?" And I shared with him,
A lot of people have that concern.
yeah, they got that concern a lot. I mentioned there's a book, Lord Help Me, I'm Blessed, and it talks about that specifically. And I went through that in like 2012, 2021 or something. It was really clarifying for helping to make sense of when God blesses you tremendously, and then like how do you manage with God and fearing Him and loving Him and not getting distracted by all the glitter and tinsel. Um, but then I also shared with him like, no, I don't really feel like business has distracted me from the Bible or ministry, because the way I look at it is like it's not about how can I get more money, it's about how can I serve more people, because
Right.
money is simply a result. And I said one of the first financial laws that I learned from my mentors early on is that the law of compensation, showing that money is a result of value added to the marketplace. So the question is, how can I it's not how can I make more money? The question is, how can I serve more people, solve more problems, help others? So like in our health programs, it's like I get paid when people lose weight. I get paid when the quality of their last years on life are better, when their life is extended with their loved ones. And so I'm just thinking like, how could I avoid obstacles, ease it for them, help them to transform their life, and I get it focused on serving them, and money is just a byproduct. Um, and I shared with them too that like all of my clients who I work with, I don't in my business I don't say like, hey, I'm gonna help you grow your ministry. I'm not talking to like nonprofits. I'm not talking about I don't use that language, but every one of my clients see their health education business as a ministry. They're teaching their health through Bible principles. And I shared with them the story. I did a course for our clients about like profitable personality, where you could share more of your values and your stories and your experiences, and actually get more clients, but at the same time share your principles. And it was that training that empowered Ray Janae, Mommy Mango, which he knows. Like, yeah, his face lit up when I talked about it. That she has 2 million followers on social media, and now she started like a women's devotional program with her training, and like thousands of women are being able to be reached with more biblical principles. And she told us just what was it last week, that she got another $3,000 client because she was a Christian,
Wow. Yeah.
and because she's sharing these Christian values, which she wasn't as direct with that until she went through my program. So through her, I'm able to reach thousands of people I wouldn't otherwise be able to. So I'm like, I don't see that this is a distraction. This is a ministry that's making a profound impact in the marketplace. And I told him I have been infinitely more effective as a missionary in the marketplace. And when I was knocking on doors, giving Bible studies, asking prayer requests, and the mentors that I've had, they're people who are like, if you have an opportunity, like do a sales call to just talk about health products, or someone needs like marriage counseling, or they are asking spiritual questions, like you take the spiritual question opportunity as a mentor to pray to sow into their life. And then health clients who are atheists, Buddhists, who are new age, they grow in their Christian journey to becoming dedicated like Christians, eventually Sabbath keepers, or just like they just mature. And his face lit up. He's like, wow, it sounds like you had some really good mentors
Mhm.
that helped teach you in the beginning and helped root you in these principles. I was like, yeah, I
That
think that's,
foundation.
yeah, that foundation. So that was a cool question he asked.
Mhm.
And I don't think anyone's ever like asked me that directly. I did tell him, I'm like, there are some people who feel that money is evil and it's wicked and selling is sleazy and there's no place in ministry or anything like that, and that they have like thought I was distracted, or they were like, Enix off the platform, or he's like not the same or something, and I just understand like,
They haven't read the councils.
yeah, they haven't read the counsel, right?
Mhm.
And I just say like, with that I'm okay, as long as, because my work is to reach the world. I'm not here to go preach to the choir and
Exactly.
try to convince people who are not even doing evangelism to like that this
Mhm.
works. I don't need to do that. I just need to do the work.
Exactly. That's how
um,
I feel about it too.
yeah, so that was fun
Mhm.
that we talked about. But another question he asked was about um, what is the, when you say that business is a personal development program with a compensation plan,
Mhm.
what was a recent like breakthrough in your character development that you found through your business?
That's a good question.
It was a great question. I'm
Yeah.
like, no one's ever asked me that.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
cool.
that. So I was just thinking, I'm like, man, there's so many breakthroughs I can think about. But he said
Mhm.
recent. So I'm like getting closer. I'm like, that was 5 years. That was
Mhm.
4 years. That was 3 years. I'm like, okay, the last 3 weeks, I've been learning about overcoming childhood traumas.
Mhm.
Because he mentioned it too. Because he mentioned too that like
Mhm.
he had to like deal with his own childhood traumas of like
Yeah.
being really severe stuttering problem and couldn't even talk one on one with someone. I'm like, me too. He said,
No
really?
way.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, no way.
Wow.
So, and
How
I'm
does
like,
stuff like that
that's my
happen?
story. And he's like, I knew that we would have some common ground when we get on this call.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, and so he mentioned that he had to heal from these wounds in order to get where he is, but he still has further to go, which all of us have further to go.
Mhm.
So I thought this would be a perfect conversation. That was when we are out of time. Like we are already past. But I told him like I don't necessarily have too much like hard thing that I gotta go do. I'm enjoying the conversation,
Mhm.
and he's and so he's like, so what was something for you? And I told him, well, it was learning that if we don't overcome our childhood traumas, they're gonna affect all of our relationships as adult. And he's like vigorously shaking his head. He's like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I told him my story about when I was 12 years old and my mom like kicked me out of the house and never come back, and I
Yeah.
felt abandoned. I felt rejected, and I was just like lost and alone for the first time in my life. And you just see like his jaw dropped. If I wish I could just go like, here, like I got you, don't worry, bro.
Yeah.
But he's like listening, and I'm just going like in detail, and I'm sharing him vividly in the emotion I felt and the experience that I went through.
Mhm.
And I was sharing that, I noticed that that even affected me building a team, because that was one thing he
Mhm.
mentioned too. He's like, well, I had a business, I had clients, but it's still kind of challenging because I felt like I just had a bunch of clients as my employers. I go from having
Mm.
one employee to having, I mean, one employer to having a bunch of employers. It's like, I didn't like it. I'm like,
Oh
well, that's
yeah.
because you were trading your time for money.
Mm.
And he's like, yeah, that was a big part of it. He's like, you're right. That's big. So that was early in the conversation. We talked about that. But I was like bringing this up too, because about leverage and building a team. Just like I felt for like in 2014, there's a lot of like turnover and people coming and going, and so it's easy to reinforce like that belief that I'm unlovable or I'm alone or people will be here one day and gone
Mhm.
tomorrow and they're never going to, like, it's just not dependable. Right when I need them most, they're going to just disappear. It's
Mhm.
suddenly and unexpectedly,
You
and
told him that?
I told him that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I told him that this fear came up over and over, and it wasn't really until like maybe 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, that it finally like clicked. I'm like, wait a second, there are people on my team right now who's been working with me for 8 years, for 6 years. They're
Mhm.
not showing any like they're not planning on going anywhere in particular. So, and they enjoy the work, they enjoy me, and we get along well, and we believe in this mission and ministry we get to do. So I'm just like, this is an irrational fear, and he's just like, you can just see he's relating and he's connecting with this, and um, I see that while I was going through that experience and sharing with him, he was saying, yeah, he was saying that, and um, I just got a phone call, so I got a little distracted. But um, he was saying when it comes to the um,
The lessons you learned in business?
yeah, the lessons. Well, I understanding about that people are actually can be stable or that can be connected, then this is something that really broke me free, where now I can have deeper connections with the people I work with. I can have deeper connections with my audience, with my clients. And instead of sabotaging those relationships, sabotaging those clients, like, hey, they're ready to pay me, but then I just messed it up, or strategic partnerships or relationships with my mentors, like being able to heal from these helped me to be able to connect authentically and have sustainable, strong social connections. And he was just like, hey, first of all, thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing that. That makes so much sense. He's like, even the fact that you could say that with with essentially a complete stranger shows a level of healing that God has taken you through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the whole point. Is like business is God's vehicle that I believe for healing from these childhood traumas and serving
That's so
people.
cool.
Yeah, so that was really fun. It was cool to connect. He's like, and there's so much of what you said that I could relate to and I could experience,
Wow.
and he's just like, it's like, thank you so much. And he's like, it's good to see an example that someone could be like where you are and still have that love and that fire
Yeah.
for the work that you get to do, the people you get to do. And I feel like that I was able to be an example of what's possible for him, in the work that he really wants to, because he's has that torn. Like I think I've found him where like I want to connect with him on business, but he's like, God's kind of leading me more to ministry. But I think it's because he got burnt out on business with some of the people he tried to partner with, and um, and we talked a little bit about subscriptions too. I was like, software is incredible because software you're able to like serve people at scale, and you're able to show up and make such impact in their life, and a subscription like this is amazing. And he's like, yeah, software is great. And he said he was reading an article where even like this printer, he talked about, you can't own a printer anymore because they want you to have a software and a subscription. You rent a printer, and after 2 years you don't, it doesn't belong to you. You gotta like send it back or pay again. And he's like, that's crazy. But I knew as he was saying that, I was like, yeah, that is crazy. But I could also see like he's a little frustrated with that, and is like a limiting belief about subscriptions. So I was like, well, what stories could I share that could help him to see subscriptions differently? And he's like, yeah, it's great for the business, but not for the consumer. But I was sharing with him, it's never been easier in any time in history to be able to. That's why we don't have to be just consumers. We can be creators. We can solve more, serve more, and we could give more to people and solve more problems for them. And I tell people all the time, we have recurring bills. Why don't we have recurring income? And you see a light bulb went off in his head. And I'm like, let's find ways to add recurring value. We solve problems and we stay solving problems in people's lives. And I'm like, I love paying for subscriptions. And he kind of looked at me and he's like, what are you about to say? Like, what did he just say?
Yeah.
I'm like, I love paying for
Probably
I'm like,
jarring.
I've got a lot of subscriptions. And part of the reason is because he talked a little bit about like partnerships and how sometimes partnering or like leveraging with people or like leveraging other people's time, money, knowledge, and stuff has been challenging. But I'm like, I love paying people because I know that, like with our software, by me paying thousands of dollars each year to get access to this, they have 5,000 developers working on my software all like throughout the year.
Time that you don't have to put into
Time I don't have to put into it. And then even like partnering with Anika, she was going to build this thing off from scratch. I spent the last 6 months trying to build all these automations that my software already does. I'm like, why start from scratch when I could just pay a check and then I get all that resource, give it to my clients. And Anika too, she's like, I'm gonna build all these features that already exist. So she's like, why do I need to do that? Let me go work with me. I'll cover the cost. And Anika, as you share with people, I'll give you 40% of any like referrals. So she has recurring revenue, which she was doing software stuff for people, tech solutions, but it's like on donation basis. So some people give $5, some people give free. Some people give 50, and he's like, yeah, I know the donation basis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but now she has recurring revenue that she's able to
Stability.
have stability in her life, and it's
Yeah.
infinitely scalable,
Yeah.
and she doesn't have to do all the part that we do,
Yeah.
and I don't have to do the part that she does. So I'm like, when we make these strategic partners correctly, they're profitable partners because each party walks away with more wealth than what was created before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's why I love paying for subscriptions, because we both walk away with more value. And it's like another light bulb went off for him. But I think all in
That's
all,
good.
it was just really cool and refreshing to connect with a brother
Yeah.
who is on a mission and he's
Something
got
you've
a
been praying
calling.
for.
Yeah. I've been praying for him. And it's cool. You talk about his family, and just, it's fun. It's rewarding. I like encouraging people in the work.
Yeah. That's really neat.
Yeah. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for
And
sharing.
for those who are watching live, hopefully you enjoyed this. I was just going to have the conversation with Shanicia, but now we did this live. Let me know. Type live in the chat if you find that this format is like encouraging or good. I could consider doing it more often. But until next time, remember, God doesn't call the qualified. It qualifies the called. Have a great day, and God bless.
So